away. Picked up by Andre from three-quarters court, and he hit it! He had his eyes on the prize and let it fly.
What's going on, Tanimals? It is another edition of the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on Vendetta Sports Media. We are streaming live on the Vendetta Sports Media page here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. Make sure you subscribe to our Twitch so that way you know whenever, wherever we're going live. Jackson Law, who's always streaming, doing some gaming on there. He still hasn't taught me how to set up my own yet, so whatever. And he's always playing games that I don't play, or playing games that I don't play when I don't have the time to play it.
You got to get with the times, man.
You know what? I ain't got to do shit. Hey, I have my own show on Vendetta Sports Media. I ain't got to do nothing I don't want to do.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, that's true. I've hit the times. I'm like Morris Day. I'm the time. Oh, Jackson, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. I was thinking about this. The new intro we got is banging. I don't think I even have mentioned that, but it's like the music is good. I love the pulsating outline of you with like a Miami Vice mustache.
I do think that's pretty badass, man. Shout out to our production guys, our video production folks, because that is a banger. Yeah. Hunter definitely came out with a banger, and I said,
absolutely.
He asked me, he goes, "What do you really want?" I said, "Look, I love Ken Griffey Jr. So if you can get something with either Ken Griffey Jr. or the Big Hurt Frank Thomas, my two of my favorite baseball players of all time," and he did not disappoint. Ken Griffey Jr., I say to this day, he should be the home run king of baseball. If he wouldn't have gotten injured, if the injury bug hadn't bit him as much as it did, he would be the home run master right now.
One of my favorite edits of a proposed new NBA logo, just like a fan made one. It's Ken Griffey Jr. with his hat backwards in his traditional swinging motion. I was just like, oh, that would be beautiful. If you want to get people in the seats and show how cool and hip of a league Major League Baseball is, you throw Ken Griffey Jr. in there. You put his outline as the logo.
All I know is that you're right. Ken Griffey Jr. needs to be the outline of the MLB logo. You know what? Ken Griffey Jr. is so hardcore. He should be the outline logo for like all sports. Like even sports he was never involved in. Like the Tiddlywinks championships of the world, he needs to be the logo. Better yet, the Shuffleboard Association of America, he should be the freaking logo. All right. And you know what? As much as I respect Jerry West went near the athlete that Ken Griffey Jr. was. So Ken Griffey Jr. should also be the figure for the NBA. Absolutely. I don't care if he is swinging a baseball bat. You know what? He can swing a baseball bat at a basketball and hit a three-pointer that way because he's Ken Griffey effing Jr.
Man can do anything.
He really can. You know what? I heard Ken Griffey Jr. swung a baseball bat and got a girl pregnant once in another county. Like, seriously, Ken Griffey Jr. is to baseball what Chuck Norris is to facts, okay? Because there's a 50-50 chance that Chuck Norris or Ken Griffey Jr. is knocking up your sister right now. And if you don't have a sister, then I don't know who that girl is.
It's a 50-50 chance that it's either one, so there's 100% that it's one of them.
Yes, exactly. You remember those Chuck Norris facts?
Oh, yeah. That was all the rage back in the mid-2000s.
Dude, I love those things. Matter of fact, I got so excited. I actually bought a dual pack of the Chuck Norris facts. It was like, one of them included Chuck Norris versus Mr. T, the two baddest dudes in the history of ever. Like, apparently, did you know that Mr. T curls 100-pound dumbbells in his sleep?
I don't doubt it.
No, neither do I. And he pities. One time he pitied a fool so hard that his dog died.
Uh-oh, did we lose Bryan, or is it me? This always happens.
And he blanked. It was probably me. I forgot to free up some memory. I forgot to free up memory. This always happens. Always happens. But anyway, we have a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. Our special guest, our monthly guest, Josh Taylor, is going to be joining us very shortly. He had to run an errand. He had a honey to-do list to fix up. And, well, when happy wife, happy life, and if you don't jump when the wife says how high, as Jackson Law can attest, you're probably going to have a bad day. So let's kind of jump into it a little bit. Let's dive into the swing of things. The Mavericks have re-signed Luka Doncic to a $207 million contract extension. And now he's under contract now, so this kicks in 2022. So not this coming NBA season, but the next NBA season, it kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
So he is the youngest guy. Apparently Trey has a comment specifically about your wife.
Yeah,
you know
I know what the comment is. I know what the comment is.
What is it? Now
okay.
I need to know.
Okay, so we'll come back to the Luka thing here in a second. I'll give my thoughts on Luka's contract. So we were watching a movie. I didn't get to fully watch the Hall of Fame game because we were watching a movie. And since we're the Tanndemonium Sports Show, and I'm 1/3 of the Tanndemonium Sports Show, I have the notifications turned on for when we tweet stuff, so I can go like it and stuff like that and share our content. And when you were live tweeting the game, you were live tweeting it from the Tanndemonium account. So I had my phone sitting next to me, and it's just boop, 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 boop. And she's like, why are you on? And I keep looking at my phone, and she's like, why are you on your phone? And I'm like, I'm getting like 50 notifications from Bryan. He's live tweeting the game. By the way, you smashed the over, by the way. I counted, I think it was 86.
Wow.
It was 83 or 86. You see, whatever the over under was that someone set, absolutely smashed it.
Trey set the over under.
So for the next game, I'm going to put it at 78.5 as the over under.
All right.
If we're going betting odds, that's what I'm going to go with.
Well, here's the thing. I did say, did I not, that I was going to start really putting my hat on, getting back into my sports mode. Did y'all think I was playing?
Nah.
Trey Dauber, did you think I was playing? Thank you. Sports guy Bryan.
Sports guy Bryan.
Sports guy Bryan.
Hockey guy Trey, sports guy Bryan.
There you go. And hey, here's the thing. If you want to get my takes on what's going on in the NFL, especially, I'm not just going to live tweet Steeler games. Like if the Steelers are playing, like I'll do a Steeler game because that's in market, but I'm also going to live tweet the NFC game as well as best I can, because the only thing that's going to make it difficult is when I'm teaching classes on Saturdays and then recording my podcast on Sundays. It's going to be difficult. So I'll either do the Thursday night game and the Sunday night game. That's probably what I'm going to do. Unless I'm able to make it work.
You are more than welcome to, for those listening, we got a little something special planned. Not going to spoil it just yet. Still hammering out the details, but it's coming up very soon. We got something planned for.
Wow. It is so on point that Jackson froze the hell
NFL
out
season
of
for here on.
Dude, your thing was so important that you froze the whole internet.
Everyone in the world just experienced a hiccup somewhere.
Yes, that's how badass your news is.
But anyway, as I was saying, we are prepping something from Vendetta Sports Media for the NFL season, specifically me streams every Sunday. Or as many Sundays as we can get people to do it. We'll have a bunch of stuff going on for the NFL But Bryan, you're more than welcome to come on at any time during the show and give your 2 cents on what is happening with the Steelers, be it good or bad, be it Najee Harris just he's like got 200 yard and it's still the third quarter, or Big Ben just threw his 4th interception of the first half and you just really need to let off some steam.
I'll be your official Steelers guy.
There we
I'll
go.
be your official Steelers guy. Trey wants me to start live tweeting Pittsburgh Pirate games. You know what? I'm actually going to be at the Pirates game this coming Saturday. I'm going to be there when the Pirates are taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. So I'll live tweet from that game. I'll live tweet some from that game. All right, I will. I'm going to be there with my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law. It's going to be a family event. So, yeah, I'll live tweet from that as well. And I'm going to have my niece there with me. So I'm pretty pumped about that. So, but yeah, I'll definitely do it. And I can't wait. I'm very excited to get our take from our official Pittsburgh Sports Radio insider, Mr. Josh Taylor. He's going to be coming on shortly. I want to talk some about the Steelers, how the Steelers did during the Hall of Fame game and what's going on and what he's been hearing. But Trey Jackson, 22 years old. Luka Doncic is the youngest dude in the league that not only has had multiple first-team selections, but now $207 million contract extension. There's a chance that he is going to be the highest paid NBA player of all time if this keeps up.
Yeah. Oh, and real quick to answer Scott, it's 78.5 now. He smashed the over last time for live tweets. We're up to 78.5. That's the over under official betting odds. And so make sure everyone out there, place your bets. Yep. Place your bets.
And if you guys want to get in on what's going on, follow the Tanndemonium Sports Show at Tanndemonium BSM.
We need to see if we can get We need to see if we can get a more or less for Bryan Tan tweets with our Monkey Knife Fight sponsors.
We might have to ask him about that. Follow the Tanndemonium Sports Show at Tanndemonium BSM. On this Thursday, I will be live tweeting as I watch the Steelers-Eagles game. This is gonna be big.
Yeah. But anyway, so getting back to the Luka Doncic news, I mean, he obviously deserves it. I mean, he's probably, I'm about 90% sure that the man is going to win an MVP in the next 5 years. He is on that. He's going
to win an MVP, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be saying that Dallas is the NBA champs for the second time.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. They can't lure any free agents. Mark Cuban continuously fails to grab free agents. All these big free agents keep going to other places, and Dallas just is never
There's a lot of black
really
folks
on
don't want
the
to
radar.
be in. Because I would say a lot of black folks don't want to be in Dallas, but then you look at the Dallas Cowboys. So that's, I mean, could it be the fact that maybe is Dallas even a basketball town all like that? I mean, is it Cowboys country?
I mean, obviously it's Cowboys country, but they're always selling out, and they always have had, at least for my lifetime, for the majority of my lifetime, they've always had a really good team. They basically went from Dirk Nowitzki to Luka Doncic. Like that's unprecedented. That's almost on a level of the Packers going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. In my mind, you go from one all-time great to another potentially all-time great. I'm not going to put Luka in that conversation.
Yeah, don't say that yet.
I'm gonna wait till the man is 30 at least before I start having that conversation. Let's see what he does in the next 8 years. Let's see what he does within this contract and the next contract before we start throwing that. But I'm saying that's what it looks like, and that's the allegory that I see in my picture in my head of what's happening.
Yeah, because at 22 years old, man, he's one turn knee away from it all crashing down.
I hope that does not happen.
Same here. I hope not as well. But he had a good showing during the Olympics. You know, he's showing. Granted, Team USA defied my expectations and won the gold yet again. But I mean, he showed them that they couldn't be foul crying and blah blah blah. They had to get serious.
Yeah, which thank God. Thank you, Lord in heaven, that the NBA has officially passed down the rules to crack down on the foul baiting BS that's been going on for years in the NBA, and you're already starting to see it being called correctly as either an offensive foul or a no call in summer league.
Good.
So thank you, NBA, for finally listening to the fans and acknowledging that there is something wrong with your product.
And you know what? The NBA does it just fine. The NFL tries. The NHL does it. MLB, left behind.
No, MLB
left behind.
Yeah, Major League Baseball probably has the worst commissioner. I mean, and
I need to be the commissioner.
Roger Goodell is pretty.
Roger Goodell is Donald Trump light. Okay, he looks just like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He probably smells like Donald Trump.
Yeah,
he's orange.
Adam Silver's classy though. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when we were live streaming and doing our reactions to the NBA draft, and the NBA drafted a gentleman out of Kentucky that more than likely was going to be selected and was being scouted while he was at Kentucky, passed away in a car accident this year. So he wasn't able to fulfill his dream, but they
didn't get drafted then.
Well, no, but what happened was that Adam Silver came out and, they honored him. And then he said, with the next pick, the NBA drafts, and they said his name, and they brought his family up to the stage, and then they got a hat, and his mom, she was, obviously crying, and Adam Silver was giving them all a hug, and it was standing ovations everywhere. So
that is absolutely beautiful. And I was not trying to be insensitive or anything when I made that joke. But that's beautiful. Adam Silver is
and that's why Adam Silver continues to win, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that's why, honestly,
Terrence Clark, that's his name. I knew it was Clark. I couldn't remember the first name.
I'm super excited for the NBA season this year because I am going to be watching it closely. I'm going to be paying attention to the Chicago Bulls, and I'm going to be paying attention to your Memphis Grizzlies.
Rocking that old school NBA Jam style.
You've worn that shirt so many times. Now I'm like immune to it.
It's a good shirt, man. I ain't got many shirts.
It looks like a comfortable shirt. Tristan Jari can kiss my black ass. F Tristan Jari. Why does he still have a job? Why? Why is Tristan Jari ever in the net? Ever? I'm trying, and I'm yelling it really, really loud because I'm waiting to hear my wife scream F Tristan Jari because she don't like him either. We are an anti-Jari household. And there's something else about the Penguins that I want to mention, but I want to wait till Josh Taylor.
So you got a good one right there. That's how you know.
Absolutely. So Andrew Iguodala, he's the cat that just won't go. What did I say?
You said Andre.
I meant Andre. Yeah. You know what? Because it's almost Andrew, but without a W. Andre Iguodala. This is another guy who, now, did someone say, I'm not really pro Kobe. Trey about to get a single leg takedown into the wall of pain. Okay. Matter of fact, we're going to do a double leg takedown into Tanplex City. F Kobe Covington. And you know what? Someone needs to go back in time and retroactively kick his father in the nuts 10 times in a row with a steel-toe boot, just so that his disgusting seed doesn't make this waste of a human being. Anyway, Andrew Iguodala, 37-year-old swingman, he was with the Warriors from 2013 to 2019, winning 3 NBA titles, coming back to the Bay Area. What do you think? You think that this is going to be the spark that the Warriors need to really compete again? Especially where you had Steph Curry and Draymond Green hurt last year.
I mean, not really. He'll come off the bench. I feel like he's at the tail end of his career, honestly. And we have in our notes, Iguodala won Finals MVP in 2015. He shouldn't have gotten Finals MVP in 2015. That should have been Steph. Everyone's like, he played great defense and he locked up LeBron James. I'm pretty sure LeBron averaged like over 30 that series. Like, LeBron was like the only star there because Kyrie and Kevin Love were both down. So obviously LeBron had to pick up the scoring if they had any chance of winning. But if a dude's dropping 30 on you a night, you're not clapping. You're not clamping him up. Okay, so this doesn't do anything. This is just nostalgia for Warriors fans, trying to recover the glory days of when they were on top.
Well,
But
it's not like they're going to get that many people in there anyway, considering the fact that Steph Curry has a contract the size of my old pants.
yeah, we talked about it last week. I think he signed the $400 million deal or something like that.
Buddy.
Or no, it was the second $200 million deal. That was the thing. So he signed 2 contracts and he's made over $400 million in those 2 contracts.
Man, why ain't I making that kind of money? Just because I can't shoot or dribble or pass. All I can really do is get my driveway, because I can't set up the little plastic rebounder thing right. So it's just there doing absolutely nothing. And every so often I'll hit nothing but the bottom of the net. But if someone were watching me, there's no way I would hit that. Ever. Fair enough. Elfrid Payton returning to the Suns on a 1-year deal. Played 19 games for the Suns as their starting point guard. This was back in 2018? And then he signed a 1-year deal with the Pelicans before going to the Knicks from 19 to this past season. Gonna be, I think this might be good for him. He's a young guy. He's still kind of, he's still a young dude. Maybe he can learn behind Chris Paul. Start to become an heir apparent, because Chris Paul isn't going to have that many more seasons left in him. Trey. Why do I keep calling you Trey tonight?
I have no idea. Am I just putting off that essence?
Maybe.
I mean, I kind of have no opinion on Elfrid Payton. I'm gonna be honest. He's just been one of those players that, watching basketball, he's just always kind of been there.
He's just there. Yeah, I hear you. And you froze.
He's eh.
No, yeah, he's eh. I get you. I mean, here's my thing with Elfrid Payton. He ain't all that. In my 2K my career, I'm the shooting guard, but I take over most of the point guard stuff. So that just lets you know he's just there to take up space.
Yeah,
I'm reading. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm reading the comments too. I got
he's distracted from the comments. I mean, that's cool. And then of course Kawhi Leonard coming back to the Clippers, finalizing this new deal. And now I thought that he was really, really pissed. I thought he was super pissed about his knee and everything. Was this just wow? Called him a discount bin at Walmart, Ben Simmons. Wow. I mean, I added the discount bin part, but I mean, so in other words, Ben Simmons is who you think you're getting, but Elfrid Payton is the wish.com version of Ben Simmons. Gotcha.
And you're not getting too much with Ben Simmons either. Hot take there.
Yeah, you know what? I think that the Sixers should seriously have to pay someone to take Ben Simmons.
Listen, Ben Simmons, if I was to lace it up for a full season for the NBA and got 5 minutes a game, I'd have a better 3-point percentage than Ben Simmons would.
Wow.
I would take anybody at Vendetta to have a higher 3-point percentage. If they were to play one season in the NBA, 5 minutes a game, they would have a better 3-point percentage.
Now, can I ask for people not to cover me?
You just chunk it up from deep. All you have to do is make 2 of them and you have a higher 3-point percentage.
Gotcha. And of course, apparently, Chick's going to be like, I could average 6 points per game in a season in the NBA in my sleep.
Exactly.
Oh, Chicky. Cheap. Oh, man.
Anyway, with Kawhi, I mean, I saw it coming. I mean, not just me, but just
That's what she said.
Anyone.
Yeah. That's what she said.
But I mean, where else was he going to go? Honestly, there was
Indiana.
Okay.
Orlando.
Man wants to win titles. He doesn't want to go die in the Midwest.
Oh man, maybe he'll go to the Trailblazers. Anyway, let's get serious. If I could be serious for the moment, and if you understand professional wrestling, you know that what I'm talking about. All right. So let's talk about the Olympics real quick. The United States, once again, leading in the medal count, leading in total medal count, leading in gold medal.
Someone clip this and put the national anthem with a flag waving over us. There we go.
There we go. Leading in gold medal, silver medal, and bronze. Like they're in the top 5. Well, I mean, probably not leading in all of the bronze, but 113 medals total. So listen, all y'all folks that are sitting there whining into your freaking haterade over Simone Biles having to take time for herself, get the F over it before I slap the ever-loving shit out of you, and then go back in time in the tan brown time machine and slap the crap out of your dad for even thinking of laying down with your mom to conceive you. Okay? Lord.
We're just the best. We didn't even have our GOAT out there and we still dominated.
Seriously.
And also it was really funny too. Because the way that when you looked online before the final day of the Olympics, China was actually had the most gold medals. But when you looked it up, like when you type in on Google or something like medal amount, it ranked everyone by overall medals, not by gold medals. So there was a lot of like CCP media and all this other stuff. They were like trying to be like, oh, United States is doing this and that to try to get ahead. Or, there were even like some articles from like publications here.
China just needs to shut the hell up. I'm sorry, Red China. Shut up. Just shut up. Okay. You and all of your craziness and your freaking annoying ass dictatorship nipple ring movements can just go to hell. Now, I'm not anti-nipple ring. I think nipple rings are awesome in moderation. But China just does like the horrible nipple ring aspect of things that just makes me want to throw up. And I'm not a big
in the
fan.
US that it's like how the United.
I love Jackson. I love how Jackson froze and was just going. And so I had to like cover for the freezing. And then he just sort of popped back in. I love it.
I don't know what's happening right now, dude. Everybody's internet.
You missed
I
it
mentioned
because
China once and all of a sudden I'm getting doxxed and hacked.
maybe you shouldn't have said. Meanwhile, I said all the worst stuff about China. I said they had like dictatorship style nipple ring stuff going on over there. Not that I'm anti nipple rings. I'm all for nipple rings in moderation, but China's just China's just not on about it. No, all right, we got to take a quick.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead and finish your thoughts. We're going to take a break.
Yeah, all I was going to say is like they were talking that crap and everything, and then the United States just comes up, puts some big middle fingers up in the air and said, "Nuh-uh, baby, we're still number one."
Looking like barbershop poles. Take that, China. Suck it. But Yao Ming is still awesome.
It's true.
Thank you for Jackie Chan, Yao Ming, Jet Li. And you know what? All the awesome friends that I've had from the Republic of China over the years. Thank you so much for them. But as far as government goes, it's my ass.
Extremely economic friendly 3D printer back here.
Yeah. But other than all that great stuff, the actual like government kind of smell like pee, y'all. Kind of smell like pee. We'll be back for the next segment on the Tanndemonium Sports Show here, streaming live on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. We'll be back.
The following broadcast is brought to you in association by XP Coffee Company. XP Coffee Company is the fresh brewed coffee made for gamers by gamers. Get amazing flavors like Choco Loco in 8, 12, or 16-ounce bags. Or level up and get Illusion, Isolation, Nightmare, or the Majestic Throne blends in light, medium, or dark roast in whole bean, coarse French press, drip, or fine espresso in 12-ounce, 16-ounce, or 2-pound bags. Wow! Shipping worldwide. If you're in the U.S., go to usa.xpcoffee.co. If you're in Europe or in the UK, go to www.xpcoffee.co. XP Coffee Company, for gamers, by gamers.
All right, we're back here.
Breaking news, everybody.
Breaking news? What's the news?
Dennis Schroeder has signed with the Boston Celtics.
Who's that?
Dennis Schroeder. He's a point guard. He was with the Lakers last year.
Oh,
He is the
him.
genius that turned down a 4-year, $80 million deal from the Lakers, and now is stuck signing a mid-level, like $6 or $7 million exception with the Celtics.
Bum, bum, ba-dun, burn.
Like there was a report today that came out, and he was apparently like beside himself and like really upset and freaking out and having panic attacks because he turned down an $80 million offer, thinking he was going to get more money, and now he is making about $75 million less.
Bum, bum, ba-dun,
Listen, I'm all about betting on yourself, but like if someone offers me $80 million, then I'm taking it and it's guaranteed. So I'm just selling after that.
Man. Dennis Schroeder.
He's
you know, his mom was like, now baby, I want you to believe in yourself, but you
$80
stupid.
million. $80 million he does not get.
Boo!
Let me see.
Dennis Schroeder. But he's still making more money a year than I'm going to make.
Yeah, $5.9 million is what his exception is. But yeah, he had 80 million. He had 80 million in the bag.
Hey. And we're joined now by my buddy, one of my besties, Josh Taylor, the upcoming voice of Pittsburgh Sports Talk Radio. Josh Taylor, how the hell are you?
I'm good, man. I have to apologize. I had some issues trying to log on. The sound on my computer was completely not working. So it took like 20 minutes to try to fix everything, get everything figured out.
You either had the Suicide Squad treatment or the X-Force treatment. You were trying to like parachute in to go get dinner and just landed on some power lines.
No, the parachute was the easy part. Apparently, the computer part was the part that was the complication for me. But no, we're here. It's all good.
You missed. I was sitting here pointing and laughing at Dennis Schroeder, just signed with the Boston Celtics for about $75 million less
yeah, 74
than what he would have made. You know his mom is going to be booing him at Thanksgiving. His mom is booing him right now.
He's the guy that passed up on $80 million and the chance to win a championship with LeBron.
Yeah.
He's that guy. Mm-hmm. He will always be that guy. I can't figure it out.
Question his decision-making skills on the court now.
I'd have to call into question his agent's decision-making skills first before I even talk about his decision-making skills on the court.
Too.
Yo, first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at my agent and be like, so you know you fired, right?
Like
Somebody
Bill Duke.
Me Drew Rosenhaus.
He's like Bill Duke in Minister Society.
Yeah.
You know she did, right?
You know what you done did, right?
You know she done did, right?
You know what you did.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So what's your take real quick on the medal count? You know, the U.S. dominating. Does it make you feel good, or is it one of those meh, it happens?
When it comes to the medal count at the Olympics, it's one of those things that it's nice to have, but if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. So yeah. I never really see myself as one of those people that, you know, if the U.S. were to maybe not lead the medal count, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, they need to go back during the 3 years leading up to the next time around and reevaluate things to look at the coaching situation. For me, it's just it's not that critical of a thing. I more or less look at certain events. Here's something that should surprise some people. The fact that, you know, the winning man in the 100-meter final and the 4x1 came from Italy. 3 women swept the 100 meters from Jamaica. That's something that should be more concerning than anything. As much as people were concerned about the U.S. men's basketball team, they went and won the gold medal. They did their job. We might not have liked how it went down, but they did what they needed to when they needed to do it. The women's team just takes care of business like it's old hat to them, 7 golds in a row. They don't really care much wise or otherwise. They're going to go and do what they do. But the track and field, the sprinting climate right now in the world where the U.S. ranks, that's something that catches my attention.
No, I feel you. I'll tell you the truth. Not to go with the standard take on Simone Biles, because we talked about that a ton. I've already gone off about it. I'll say this. Look, at the end of the day, folks want to compete. And it seems to me, especially Team USA basketball, they realized what they needed to do. Pop got the word in at the locker room, and they got done what needed to get done.
I love how people were trying to make this Greg Popovich's fault.
It wasn't.
What cracked me up was if you take Kevin Durant and Draymond Green off that roster, Pop has more championship rings than the rest of the roster combined.
Pretty much.
And we're questioning Greg Popovich.
Yeah.
What?
That's just
that was crazy.
That's just like if football were an Olympic event, you get Bill Belichick, as much as we don't like him here in Pittsburgh, you get him as your head coach. You don't question what he does.
Greg Popovich, I believe, has won an NBA championship in 3 different decades. Why are we questioning him?
Because we stupid.
That was a new one. The only thing that would have been more of a hilarious thing is if they were questioning Mike Krzyzewski, who I believe has won a national championship in 4 different decades, if I'm not mistaken.
You're about right.
It's the strangest thing. The strangest thing I've ever seen.
Well, I think a lot of it is that we are so spoiled when it comes to our sports, and we just think that we know everything. It's like, no, we don't. Shut up.
So basically, it's like being a Pittsburgh sports fan is what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because that's what it feels like a lot of days.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
Let's talk about our fellow Yinzers. Now, I obliterated the over-under that we had because I don't know if you noticed, but I was live tweeting from the Hall of Fame game. Not from the Hall of Fame game. You know, I'm not Randy Bauman and company. But I was live tweeting while watching the Hall of Fame game. Everyone in the company said that I'd probably do 75 tweets. I did like 80-something. What is your take on the Hall of Fame game? Let me ask you this, and I'm actually going to ask you this, Jackson, as well, because I know you watched some of it, and I want people to answer in the comments as well, but I want to start with Josh. What's your good, bad, and ugly take?
The good I'll take is the rookies. A handful of rookies in this rookie class showed exactly what they needed to show. Najee Harris showed he was pretty much as advertised in that first quarter, those first couple series he was in. I thought that guys like Quincy Roche showed what he was capable of, getting the sack in the third quarter. I thought guys like Trey Norwood showed what he was capable of. He almost got that pick on the Cowboys' first drive of the game after the fumbled exchange on the jet sweep with Mason Rudolph and Chase Claypool. Dallas recovers. They get into the red zone. Now, granted, that almost interception by Norwood isn't made possible if not for back-to-back really good snaps by Alex Highsmith getting pressure, getting the sack on the quarterback on second down and then forcing pressure on third down to force that bad pass and almost set up the interception for Trey Norwood. And then I thought Presley Harvin III, the punter, did his job. There are people giving Presley Harvin the job already.
I'm one of them.
In the preseason game, and apparently he already has the job.
Oh, I've already been giving it to him. I already told Jordan Berry, it's time to go back to wherever you came from.
Yeah, so apparently Presley Harvin, all he had to do was show up. So that was the list of criteria. But for the rookies, I think that's the good. For the bad, and it's not even necessarily the bad, it's just the not as good. The play at quarterback, I thought there were some good plays that were made by each of the quarterbacks who played. I thought there were some not so good plays that were made by each of the quarterbacks who played. Mason Rudolph, of course, had his miscues. We already talked about the bad exchange on the jet sweep. I thought Dwayne Haskins could have looked cleaner, but I thought he made a couple of interesting plays. He made a really big play, I believe it was in the third quarter, off that play action where he set up Kevin Rader that got them into the red zone. That set up Kalen Balage's touchdown run. I thought that was a big play that helped them in that drive. So I thought that was good.
That, Miami. Thanks for giving up on him, Miami.
Right. So I thought that was Washington more than anything, but I thought that was
them too.
I thought that was a capable move for him to kind of boost his confidence. I thought Josh Dobbs went in and does what Josh Dobbs does. I mean, Josh Dobbs has never shown any kind of lack of competency with that offense. So for him to come in and do what he did not surprise me at all. So I would say the quarterbacks weren't necessarily bad. They just weren't as good as what I saw from the rookies as a whole. And I will say the ugly is the inside linebacker position, because outside of Devin Bush, I don't know what to expect. I don't know who can play in coverage. And I'll remind people, especially Steeler fans, of these two very important points. Last season when Devin Bush got injured, he was one of 6 different guys who played that inside linebacker position. Devin Bush, we'll count through them. Devin Bush, Vince Williams, Avery Williamson, Robert Spillane, Ulysses Gilbert III, and Marcus Allen. 6 different guys played those 2 spots.
Yeah.
And we wondered why this defense had problems in coverage. There you go. Second thing
is
is –
their coverage looked horrible.
And the coverage looked bad. The second thing is, from that particular point, is that each of the last 2 seasons, when the top inside linebacker on this defense gets injured, that defense gets exposed. It happened last season with Devin Bush. It happened in 2017 when Ryan Shazier got hurt in December against Cincinnati. It continues to show itself, but it tells you just how important that inside linebacker position is. And if you don't have a guy that can cover, you're going to get exposed quickly. So that's going to be the ugly for me.
Okay. Jackson, what do you have? I'm going to make my point after the fact, but what do you got, Jackson?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't watch too much Steelers football unless they're like the game that's being shown on CBS or they're a Monday night game. So not as into it as the two of you are, but for the parts that I watched, I almost have to agree with Josh on, I guess, all 3. I mean, we were all kind of nodding in an agreement here, but I thought Najee Harris did great. A lot better than what I was expecting. And Mike Tomlin has even said, I saw where he came out today and said that he's wanting to give the same amount, if not more, maybe reps for Najee Harris out there. Extremely impressed by him. Offensive line held up a little bit better than what I thought it would. Then again, it's game 1 of preseason. So Najee Harris averaging 3.1 yards a carry. That's, if he does that all season long, if I'm a Steelers fan, I call that a win. With how the offensive line wasn't necessarily addressed as prominently as people thought it should have been by the organization. Quarterback play, definitely disappointing for me too. I'm with you, Brian, that I haven't given up on Dwayne Haskins just yet. You don't get drafted that high and you don't perform the way that you do in college if you don't have something there. It doesn't always translate to the pros. I mean, just look at someone like Johnny Manziel as a big example of someone that's been up here in the college scene, but then all the way down here through my floor. And, you know,
or to be fair, most Urban Meyer system quarterbacks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
In fairness.
Which is why a lot of people were hesitant about Justin Fields coming into this year.
True.
And that could have
That's a great
caused him
point.
to slip some.
That is a great point by you right there.
And then of course the secondary did not look that great. Then they're probably my ugly too. But you know, again, they've still got the preseason to figure it out, but not the best foot forward by them in this first game.
The good, I'll say, definitely Najee Harris, and in turn the offensive line. The offensive line gave him the space that he needed to get the job done. For y'all youngins that don't remember what Steeler football looks like, that's what Steeler football looks like. Run the ball. The offensive line only has to give you just enough for you to make it happen. And as much as I love James Conner, he just wasn't that guy. And when he tried to be that guy, he got hurt. I wish him all the best out in the desert. I really hope that they're more complimentary to his running style because I love James Conner. I love his story. Kalen Ballage especially showed that he belongs on this roster. I think that Benny Snell should start getting ready to change addresses, because with Kellen Ballage and why the hell Jalen Samuels, in that backfield, Benny Snell doesn't have a place. Benny Snell football coming soon to another city somewhere else, probably not near you. Because not that I dislike Benny Snell, but I'm sorry, when you come in and you start referring to yourself in the third person and how you play football, no. You got to show me something. You ain't shown me enough for that yet.
You got to be Clifford Franklin and the replacements to do that.
Exactly. But big ups to the offensive line for blocking for Najee Harris. That's absolutely it. Another of the good, I have to say, Alex Highsmith has made huge strides from rookie year to year 2. You can tell this kid has been working his ass off, and he's basically saying, "Okay, you guys went out and got another outside linebacker. Why? I'm here."
Well, they needed to. I mean,
they needed to. They definitely needed to. But Alex Highsmith is sort of telling him, "Don't get comfortable and thinking you gonna be the man."
Well, here's the fun part about it, because had they gotten any other edge rusher, I'd probably feel the exact same way you do. Mm-hmm. Getting a guy like Melvin Ingram makes me feel a little bit differently, because you're not probably going to see Ingram as much if they go to the base package, which probably isn't as often as they're in the sub package, to be honest with you. They're usually in the nickel defense a lot. But if they're in the sub package, now you can have a lineup where you have your 2 interior guys. You have TJ Watt on the edge on one side. You have Alex Highsmith on the edge on the other side. And Melvin Ingram can play that inside position in the sub package because he can actually rush from the inside. So now you have Devin Bush on one side, Melvin Ingram on the other side on the inside. That gives you a lot more options, plus Watt and Highsmith. So now you have opportunities to mix those guys up. I would feel the way you do with any other edge rusher. The fact that it's Melvin Ingram and the things they can do with him, if you paid attention to what he did in San Diego and later on LA, you feel a little bit differently because now you can put all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time.
Well, then let me ask you this before I go into my bed. Do you think that potentially Melvin Ingram is going to be on the inside along with Devin Bush? Because I'm sorry, Spillane ain't it.
In the base, no. I don't think we'll see it a lot in the base. I think there'll be some sub packages where, they have a couple linebackers on the field, maybe that nickel package where maybe you see Melvin Ingram in there, and he might blitz some days. He might flash blitz and drop back in the coverage some other downs. It's one of those things where, like I mentioned, if you see his tape from when he played with the Chargers, he was able to rush from the outside. He was able to rush from the inside and make plays and get pressure too. So they can mix those looks up and make quarterbacks get a little bit more hesitant and worrying about, okay, I got to deal with TJ Watt over here. I got to deal with Alex Highsmith over here. And I got Ingram floating around somewhere here too. Plus I got to deal with Cam Hayward and Tuitt or whoever else is coming. That makes a quarterback's job that much harder.
Yep. The bad, as much as it's going to be sort of low-hanging fruit, Mason Rudolph, you cannot make mistakes like that. You cannot make mistakes in that handoff. Now, granted, and I even had issue with that pass to Claypool where Claypool was shaken up.
Yeah.
He hung Claypool out to dry.
Yeah, better throw probably has a better result. And maybe it looked like Claypool fell on the ball, which is just
My
if you've ever fallen on football, that hurts. It really hurts. So.
It's happened to me. It don't feel good.
Yeah.
And I was not happy with that. I really feel like I don't like what I see from Mason Rudolph. I really don't. This isn't just because I'm a big fan of Dwayne Haskins, and I want your take on Dwayne Haskins after we're done with this. But no, you cannot put who I see is your best receiver. I see Mapletron as the best receiver in this young receiving core. And you do not hang your best receiver out to dry like that. You just don't. That is not a throw that Ben Roethlisberger makes. That is not a throw that a starting quarterback makes. Shouldn't make. The coverage for the defense was absolutely terrible. There were a couple times where I even said, look, Keith Butler needs to get some dadgums into these guys' faces. He either needs to get in their faces, he needs to coach them better, he needs to scheme better, or he needs to get out of town, because I've been calling for his job for a couple of years now. I'm not a Keith Butler guy. There are, but then again, for Josh, guys like you and me who have been watching Steelers since we were zygotes, this is Steeler football. Coverage has never been a strong part of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And yes, I do take Claypool over Deontay Johnson Because
not in the current iteration. Coverage in recent years has not been as good, and a lot of that's for two different reasons. One, because the exact scheme compared to what Dick LeBeau drew up, they don't run it exactly the same way. I don't think you see as much of the exotic zone fire blitzes as you did before, where at some points in the previous couple of decades, you didn't know who the hell was coming at you. So it was a little bit of a different dynamic as opposed to now. It's probably somewhere between 7 guys. That might be the 7 different guys that might be blitzing it every time, as opposed to you didn't know who the 11 was coming to Dick LeBeau's defense. You had no clue. Right. So I think there's a difference there. As far as Dick LeBeau being long for the parish, I don't know if we've talked about my theory on that. I said this a year ago. I expected changes in the coaching staff. I got one of them right.
We all knew Pinkner was gone.
I knew Matt Canada was going to be the guy a year ago. And my theory behind that was you don't hire Matt Canada to be a position coach. When his offense has been adopted by other teams in the league and they're using concepts that he used 5 years ago at Pitt. So that was my theory a year ago. My other theory is you don't hire Terrell Austin to be strictly a position coach or a senior assistant. I feel like there's a transition eventually coming there too. But probably after the season. That was my feeling a year ago too, but I think they're going to be a little bit more gradual with that one. And if you notice, the Steelers very seldom fire coaches. They either transition them out slowly or let their contracts expire. Keith Butler got his contract extended by 1 year. So keep an eye on that.
Right.
I think this is it. Just keep that in mind moving forward.
All right.
That's all I'm going to say on that.
And then as far as my ugly, special teams.
Outside of Presley Harvin III.
Except outside of Presley Harvin III. The kick, and specifically the kicking game, because kick coverage was on point. I have not seen kickoff coverage this good from the Steelers in a long time.
It's been a while.
But the field goal unit wasn't good. That was probably the worst of the worst. Dude, young Percy, that's his position for the next 10 years. Bank on it. And apparently he's so good of an athlete. You know what? Brother could suit up as a linebacker if he wants to. They better be careful.
He's big enough. He's got thick enough legs. That guy's legs, man, they're tree trunks. I don't know if you heard that he's I can't remember who it was, and I feel terrible for not knowing who this is. Someone gave him the nickname of Big Papa Punt, and I am all in. Like, that is one of the best nicknames I've heard in a long time.
Better than the rookie
Big Papa Punt.
Better than the rookie from the Golden State Warriors that's called Cum Bucket.
I kind of want to know, but I kind of don't want to know.
Neither do I.
His name is Jonathan Kuminga, and Warriors fans are calling him the Cum Bucket.
That's terrible. I would seriously not sign my contract and just say, you know what, I want better fans.
Can I go to the G League?
Yeah, exactly. So real quick,
I'll go to the G League to rather
trade instantly.
Exactly.
Right. It's gonna follow you though, honestly.
Yeah, that's true at this point. So let me,
gotta go to the Shanghai Sharks then. That's the only other option.
There you go. So real quick before we take our next break, Josh, what is your take on Dwayne Haskins? Because here's my thoughts on Dwayne Haskins right about now. This is a guy who, granted, it's a new system for everybody, but Haskins pretty much did what was expected of him to do. He managed the game. He was more watching. He was more showing Tomlin that he can watch the field. He was showing that he has the ability to view the entire field and not make mistakes. Now, do you agree with me on that take?
To a degree, yes. I think there's some things he still needs to clean up. Sorry, the dog is responding.
Oh, no, that's fine. Well, it's probably because your dog saw Mason Rudolph and is like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, you mentioned Steelers backup quarterbacks that you got agitated. Because let's be honest, the history of Steelers backup quarterbacks is spotty, to say the least. Like the Charlie Batches of the world, are the exception more than they are the rule. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because then we get Neil O'Donnell and thinks that he's the second coming and he gives away a Super Bowl.
Well, there's that. But in Dwayne Haskins' case, there's a few different things about him that stick out to me. One, he seems very hell-bent on actually telling people – I shouldn't say telling people, but showing people that this second opportunity is not going to be wasted. And I think he's hell-bent on proving the Steelers brass right because, and he said this going into minicamp, he said, I wanted to make sure that the people who took a chance on me that, I do right by them, which I can honestly respect because if you remember the way he fell out of favor so quickly in Washington, and to get another opportunity in Pittsburgh. Now, granted, if you can, put 2 and 2 together and still get 4, Haskins' agent, Tomlin's agent, one and the same, you do the math. But, however, with all that said, he hasn't wasted the opportunity. He's come in. He's been a model citizen. The guys around him have said great things. Ben Roethlisberger has complimented the ball that he throws. And I don't think anybody thought he lacked athletic talent. I think it was just a matter of can he come in and do the work and put the work in. I think that's actually been done. I think he showed that, and his teammates would agree. The coaching staff seems to agree with that. The third and final thing with relation to Mason Rudolph, and this is the most important thing to me. And remember what I told you about Matt Canada's offense. Mm-hmm. I feel like Dwayne Haskins fits more of what this offense can do more than Mason Rudolph does. And that's not necessarily a knock against Mason Rudolph. It's just remembering the facts. Mason Rudolph was an air raid quarterback in high school in South Carolina. Then he went to Oklahoma State, which has been an air raid college team for a long time now, for probably most of Mike Gundy's tenure at Oklahoma State. And then he comes to Pittsburgh where they're not running the air raid. This is not an air raid type system. They do not call many air raid type plays for him. The structure is not the same where he gets 3-4 seconds and boom, the ball's out. He knows where the ball's going. He makes 1 or 2 reads and it's there. This is another one of those, okay, you have to make reads in Matt Canada's offense. Granted, it's designed to find you the guy where the ball's going to go to, but at the same time, you also have some safety valves as well. So Mason Rudolph has to go through more progressions and maybe work each step a little bit longer than he would in the air raid offense. That's really the difference. So as far as guys being a better fit for a system, I'm going to take Dwayne Haskins every time because he just fits what they're doing better than Mason Rudolph does. Because air raid quarterbacks, they're programmed to look for specific things. And when you run another system, it doesn't always look the same. So if there's anything I'm looking at with Dwayne Haskins, it's those 3 things. It's the athletic ability, the ability to work, and the fact that he probably fits the system better right now than Mason Rudolph probably ever did as an air raid quarterback by comparison.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. There's definitely a great question in the chat that I want to run by you, and then we're going to move on to some other teams. I guess we have to. And I also want to get your take on what you're hearing, not just in Steeler camp, but around the league, because you're an inside guy. Whether you want to admit it or not. Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
news to me.
And I have to give Josh some props. I wasn't able to listen to your show this past Sunday, but I love the fact that we were talking WWE and AEW on the radio. Now, for one, I know you agree with my take that Father Time and Chris Jericho don't even know each other because that top rope Judas effect was whoa.
I am so in awe of Chris Jericho's ability, not even to perform at his age, his ability to reinvent himself. Absolutely. You can you talk about they mentioned the 4 faces of Foley. You can break down Chris Jericho's career pretty much into 4 different stages. And when you break it all down, it's amazing.
The Lionheart era, the Y2J era, the List, and Les Champions. Les
Champions. But the best part about each of those eras is he has found different ways. No 2 eras were the same. The only thing that translated was his ability to work in the ring and his ability to get an entire crowd going in the microphone, whether as a heel or a face. He could either get everybody doing things like singing his theme song, walking in at the top of their lungs in any arena he walks into, or he could piss an entire crowd off in 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
He understands
what the pulse is on the crowd.
Yeah.
When you can come into an organization you've never been in and have people rooting for you against their top babyface,
yes,
that goes to show.
So he understands the engineering of wrestling and how a crowd can actually be manipulated to make it work.
And I'll say this real quick before we take our break. There's only about a handful of guys in the entire wrestling industry that have been able to do it like that. Larry Zbyszko, Ric Flair, Steve Austin, and Hulk Hogan. Those 4 guys. With that, we're going to take a quick break. You are listening to the Tanndemonium Sports Show. I am the Ayatollah of Tanndemonium here on twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. We'll be right back for our final segment of the hour here, exclusively live on Twitch. We'll be back.
The following is brought to you in partnership by Symbol. Symbol is a new sports marketplace where you can trade shares of professional teams like stocks. You love sports. You interested in fantasy sports without the weekly annoyance of fantasy league upkeep? Then Symbol's the app for you. With Symbol, fantasy sports is going to a whole other level. How it works is simple. You buy Symbol shares for your favorite sim teams on the app. When your sim team wins, you get automatic cash deposits, and you don't lose any money when they lose. That's it. So if you follow trends across football, basketball, and baseball, and you think your team is a sleeper, simply invest in your favorite sim teams on Symbol and watch your virtual portfolio prove you right or wrong. And if you want to get in on the action right away, Vendetta Sports Media's got you covered. Go to symbol.app/Vendetta and use our exclusive promo code Vendetta, and you'll get a $10 bonus when making your first deposit. Symbol, taking fantasy sports to a whole other level.
We're back on the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. We stream live every Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then over the next couple of days, we will release podcasts and snippets on our YouTube channel. And joining us for his monthly spot, the great Josh Taylor. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, you've heard him on 93.7 The Fan. Or if you download the Odyssey app, you can listen to him there on The Fan as well. He's the morning guy on the weekends there on The Fan, talking a little bit of anything and everything. Josh and I were actually jaw-jacking a little bit. I was talking to him from Twitter. We were discussing Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Business.
Yes.
And how the WWE so massively dropped the ball on breaking up the Hurt Business. But he's been doing pretty good without his cronies. Between him and MVP, along with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, that's probably among the best stuff that they've done in the WWE in a long time.
I wish I had a bottle of something next to me. I'd pour some out for the former Hurt Business as it was as a former stable, because in my estimation, the Hurt Business at the time they broke it up was probably the best thing going on Raw. They were fantastic. You mentioned MVP. What I loved about MVP being a part of the Hurt Business, there is no Hurt Business without MVP.
Not even a little.
I honestly think MVP was aptly named because you can make a case that MVP was the MVP for the majority of 2020. Mm-hmm. I mean, for a guy who was pretty much a throw-in in the Royal Rumble at the beginning of the year, he's in the Royal Rumble as a throw-in in January, and they brought him back because he wanted to be in one more pay-per-view. He wanted his son to see him wrestle because MVP was pretty much on the outward part of his career. He had accepted a producer role, but they kind of threw him in the Royal Rumble just to, get the juices flowing. Then they bring him back. He comes back. He's with Bobby Lashley. They get paired up again because if you go back to the Impact days, those two guys have history also. Then they bring in a guy in Cedric Alexander who's such a young, talented guy who needed something to help give him that push and maybe get him just a little bit more recognition and just to show you how good he was. You have that happen. Then you bring in a guy in Shelton Benjamin, whom we're talking for almost 3 decades now. Shelton Benjamin,
he is the best tag team wrestler.
Like as far as naturally gifted guys on that roster, us being the actual best shoot wrestler in the company.
Not only that, but he's
probably Shelton Benjamin.
But he also still to this day had the greatest spot of the 21st century with that slingshot into the sweet chin music. Greatest spot in the 21st century.
I find Shelton Benjamin to be one of the most underrated guys and just underutilized guys. And I think that's why I loved the Hurt Business so much, because they found a way to bring in a guy and Bobby Lashley, they finally did the right thing with him. They protected him. They gave him a finisher that was devastating. They built him into this indomitable star. They did exactly what they should have done with him a decade plus ago, maybe even more.
Absolutely.
Then you have a guy like MVP, who is his mouthpiece, who can say anything necessary on the mic, who can play that role as his valet to the team. Plus, he can do a little work in the ring. Then you bring in Shelton Benjamin, one of the most solid, above-average veterans you can find who can still get it done, and then a young rising star in Shelton Benjamin. I thought that connection with those four guys, plus the thought is not lost on me, of four African-American performers creating this kind of stable, business-like mindset, showing up in some really fine suits. As a guy who wears suits on TV for a living, they were some really well-tailored suits. I got to give him credit for that too.
Oh, that was like a throwback of the Horseman for me.
It was. It kind of had a Horseman type feel to it, and I liked that because they took this group and they did a little bit of old and they did a little bit of new and they made it work, and it was something you had never seen before. And I really enjoyed that about them. And then they just threw it in the can. Said, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to break off Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander and get them squashed by Lashley, beating them by himself. And then we're also going to break them up as a tag team too. Just set the bridge and just completely blew it up with C4. Unbelievable.
Right. All right. Let's pivot back to the NFL real quick because there's a couple things I want to get to. But Trey asked a great question in the chat. We want your take on Anthony McFarland. Now, I'm really disappointed, especially when he took that check down and didn't try to plow forward. He sort of tried to get a maneuver and got stopped short. That is a charge forward with a power run to get that first down. Now, I was kind of excited about the pick because he set the world on. He was really, really good in college, but he sort of hasn't transitioned to the NFL game very much. Do you think that he can be the type of running back that Tomlin can depend on, or do you think he's going to be the outside looking in because of Kellen Balaj? Granted, it's only been one preseason game.
Well, there's two things I'm going to break down. One, if you're expecting Anthony McFarland to make power type running back moves, then you're anticipating the wrong thing from Anthony McFarland because he's not that kind of running back. Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing, and this was an observation, when I saw him deep for the opening kickoff as a kick returner, that caught my attention because I think there could be something there. I like that. Plus, it probably gives him a better shot at locking down the job. Remember, Mike Tomlin is one of those guys that says the more you can do, the better shot you got to get in the hat on Sundays.
We'll find a spot on your spot on the roster.
If you got
now here's the thing. Now I do understand.
Do,
and I do understand that Anthony McFarland is not a power runner. I get that. But as someone who's played the running back position, even your speed rushers, they have to know how to put their head down and charge forward.
But that doesn't mean you can always expect them to do it.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean,
there's business decisions that guys make from time to time.
Yeah, that's true. It's just but that's also that's first day that you're in football camp as a kid, and you're taught that when you have a yard, you lower your shoulder. I mean, you can't compare him to Bell completely, but you can't say he's a shifty guy.
He's a guy who relies on his lateral movement to actually make guys miss, and he's always going to be that. To answer your last question of what kind of running back they expect him to be, I don't think they brought him in to be a lower your shoulder, 3 yards in a cloud of dust type guy. They brought him in to bring a lot of different talents to this backfield. If you look at this running back room in just the last 3 years, think about what it was 3 years ago and look at what it is now. You have a running back room now, and this counts Benny Snell too. When you bring in Najee Harris, and you have Benny Snell, and you have Anthony McFarland, and you have Jalen Samuels, and you mentioned Kalen Balaj. In my estimation, Jalen Samuels might be the odd man out. Because Jalen Samuels does a lot of things well, but he might not do the right things good enough to stand out from the rest of the group.
He's a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Exactly. You see where I'm going with this. Whereas McFarland can do more than one thing and actually work in more than one purpose. He's clearly faster than Samuels is. Whether or not one can pass protect better than the other, that's something I probably have to revisit.
It's kind of minimal.
It's probably a wash at best. Maybe you give one guy a slight edge, if not a lot. But this running back room is tailored to be very different, where you have guys working different skill sets And that's the one thing that you look at and say, okay, that's where this team has really changed. Because Mike Tomlin has been known. Think back a few years ago, almost a decade ago with Willie Parker. Remember what Mike Tomlin said about Willie Parker? We're going to ride him till the wheels fall off. Mm-hmm. That was his philosophy for a long time. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing that as much now because with Le'Veon Bell, he could do so much more than a Willie Parker could. He could be part of your passing game. He could be part of your running game. But you also didn't have other guys behind him that had the same skill set. Right. So they had to find ways to work around maybe having one guy take the entire load. So now you got a guy, Najee Harris, that could do just about everything. You got another guy, Anthony McFarland, who might be a change of pace guy, might be a lateral movement guy, make a guy miss or two, can also make plays possibly in the sub package. And they're giving them some looks maybe in special teams. Then you have a guy like Samuels who can actually catch the ball and do different things that way. You have a guy like Snell who's probably between the tackle short yardage guy. So you have a bunch of different skill sets with the same group of guys. Think back a couple of the past maybe 2 decades. What franchise was notorious for having a running back room that had guys with different skill sets and probably made their careers a lot longer by comparison? Belichick's been doing this for 2 decades, almost 3 decades in New England.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick got more yardage and more mileage out of Kevin Falk than I have gotten out of my car that I bought 10 years ago. I'm not kidding. That man extended Kevin Falk's career probably by 5 years.
Absolutely.
Think about what he's done and what he's gotten out of James White in that period of time.
Yeah.
James White, I've always considered to be one of the most dangerous third-round backs that's ever played because they find ways to get the most out of him, not only on third downs and anywhere in the field, but especially third downs in the red zone. Tom Brady got the most out of James White. That was a running back room that had guys that could do a bunch of different things. But maybe 4 years ago when that running back room had Dion Lewis, James White, and LeGarrette Blount, you had your short yardage guy, you had your third down guy, but in Dion Lewis, you had a guy who can do a little bit of everything. Right. So you always had one guy that could at least one guy that could do any given job depending on the circumstances. And now the Steelers are closer to that kind of profile.
And I think that even though this league continues to move toward, and Jackson, I'm sure you'll back me up on this, as I'm sure you will too, Josh. Even though as much as this league is a passing league, if you have a solid running game, you're going to win because that allows your defense to rest. It allows you to open up the field for your passing, but it all starts with those hogs up front.
I'd make the argument that just being able to get first downs has the same effect.
Yeah.
But to your point, think of an offense like Tennessee, which is now upgraded, by the way.
Yeah.
They now have extra elements
now you have
besides just Derrick Henry.
Now you have Julio Jones for Jackson's best buddy, who I can't remember his name is
Tannehill.
For Tannehill to throw to. So he doesn't have to just hand off to this kid 25, 30 times a game.
Ryan Tannehill might have the easiest job of any quarterback in the league. He can hand off to one of the hardest running backs to tackle and throw to a couple guys that are really hard to cover or bring down after they catch the ball. Plus, the tight end play isn't terrible either. They've got a really good situation going in Tennessee. But to your point, in a league where passing the football has become more of a priority, if you can use the running game to offset it, if you're in Tennessee's case, where you can find a guy like a Derrick Henry who makes running the football more of an option that you can lean on if you have to do that. That makes it a lot better to your point because it's not about just being one thing or another, but if you can be a complementary football team, it makes it a lot easier. I thought Kansas City, I think, probably proved that the most, bringing in a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire who fits what they want their running back to do in that system. If you can be complementary to what your system needs you to be, then you're in a much better spot as an offense.
And Trey says in the chat, I'm worried the Arthur Smith loss is bigger than anyone wants to admit. Feels like a crash incoming.
I think that's fair. I think that's really fair. You got teams that needed to upgrade a tight end, and I thought, did anybody upgrade a tight end better than New England? I can't find a team that did. They went and got my guy Hunter Henry from Arkansas. I covered that kid playing in Arkansas his first couple of years as a Razorback. They did a lot of work doing things at the tight end position. And remember what happened the last time they upgraded and had a couple studs at tight end? That was a really tough offense for people to stop. They become matchup nightmares, and it looks like they're going back in that direction again.
Yeah, it was a pretty killer offense back then.
Absolutely. And now Mac Jones, I just talked about Ryan Tannehill having an easy job. Mac Jones's job might get easier too in the next year or two. So there's that also.
Yeah. So let's take a quick shift to NFL MVP predictions heading into the season. Max Murphy, one of our writers here at Vendetta Sports Media, put up an article. These are his top 4 in a dark horse. All right.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say names, and I just want a yay or nay from both of you.
As in they make sense, or
Yeah,
or they're okay.
or yeah, that makes sense, or
Okay.
nah. Number one, Josh Allen, yay or nay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude was top 5 in the league in yards, completion percentage. I want to say quarterback rating. He was top 5 in the league in like 6 different categories last year that were all important. I think touchdown passes were in there too. He's definitely yes.
Jackson, anything to add?
100%.
All right.
I think I'm back.
Yep, you're kind of back. Yep.
Okay.
Back.
No, I was just gonna say that. I mean, last season there was a small argument that could have been made that Josh Allen should have gotten it last season too, depending on how they finished winning their division.
I would only disagree because Aaron Rodgers was that good last year. When you have 48 touchdowns and 6 picks, or 48 touchdowns and like 10 picks, he was that good. It's just hard. It's hard to argue with the season Aaron Rodgers had. They're not in the NFC Championship game. Green Bay isn't without Aaron Rodgers. And I'll take this a little bit further. A lot of stuff he said in that press conference where people had a problem with, a lot of it was true.
Well, isn't that what usually happens though when athletes start speaking truth in press conferences? People get mad. Why?
What they say in Straight Outta Compton, Ice Cube's character? Well, I should say his son who played Ice Cube.
Yeah, the son of
speak a little truth and people lose their minds.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Wrong. You're not wrong. You back, Jackson, or you still froze? Looks like you're still froze. All right, let's move on to our number 2 prediction. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is a yes. If he looks even close to what he did last year, which I think he's capable of because he's still got Devontae Adams and me and my cohort Greg Finley from 93.7 The Fan, we're on this hashtag feed Devontae thing for quite some time now. And if he can keep doing that, if both those guys are healthy, Aaron Rodgers is a yes.
And I'll take it a step further. Aaron Rodgers is playing for some place to play next year.
Motivation will be fun in this season for him.
I'm telling you,
because he's playing for his next gig for sure.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is definitely with that motivation. I think that he breaks passing records in Green Bay. I'm talking stuff that Brett Favre set. That before Brett Favre, it was Bart Starr, and they're like, no one's ever going to break this again. Aaron Rodgers is going to be like, Shayna Woodley, hand my beer to somebody.
No.
Jackson, your thoughts?
Totally forgot about Shayna.
Where we at? I had to hop back in because
we're on Aaron Rodgers. We're on
Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I don't know if he's going to come back out like he did last year. I just counted him. I thought he wasn't going to have as great of a season last year, and he came out and he played angry. Maybe he comes out and he plays angry again, and he just has another baller season like he did last year. And Josh, yeah, I was going to go on about with Aaron Rodgers too. I thought Aaron Rodgers was the MVP last year, but the fact that if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers having an unbelievable season, there definitely would have been a strong argument
absolutely.
that Josh Allen should have gotten MVP last season.
You're totally on point.
Like he was second place pretty much in voting last year, and he had a better season than Lamar Jackson's unanimous MVP year. That's how good Josh Allen was.
You know what I compare Josh Allen's season last year to and how the voting turned out? Remember back when Mike Trout was a rookie and he won Rookie of the Year and probably should have been the AL MVP, and the only reason why he didn't win was because Miguel Cabrera hit for the Triple Crown?
Yep.
Same principle.
Mm-hmm.
He was that good, but one guy was just that much better, and it was just you couldn't argue with it.
And that goes to be one of those, damn, what the hell do I have to do? You kind of feel like Apollo Creed trying to finish off Rocky in the original Rocky. You knock him down, you think that's it, and here he comes. It's like
4,300 yards, 48 picks, and 5 interceptions is hard to argue with. It's hard to take that from him.
And, of course, I love Trey's take. Remember when people thought Josh Allen had no shot coming into the league? Trey was all about, like, Trey. Now, I wasn't with Vendetta when Josh Allen came into the league. But Trey was one of the main people back then that was saying Josh Allen is going to be the truth.
This is why you don't look at where a guy went to college as far as the quarterback's talent.
Exactly.
This is why you don't judge that.
Mm-hmm. Number 3, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without question.
The man
Patrick
is
Mahomes.
He's Patrick Mahomes.
He's alive and standing on 2 feet. He's an MVP contender, period.
Not to mention the fact that the Chiefs went out and got him offensive linemen.
Yes. They totally revamped that offensive line. They got him 2 fresh new tackles. It's like taking your car and getting new brakes and new wheels and getting all the stuff that you needed on it done. And they came back and it looks better than ever. He'll be right back in the thick of it without question.
You've got to protect your $500 million quarterback.
He is your investment.
Yeah.
He like no one else on the team is an investment. He is
your
the
whole
franchise.
franchise.
Yeah, he's the franchise. Without question.
There are franchise players, and then there's Patrick Mahomes.
He's to another wrestling reference. He's the John Cena of Kansas City right now. He is the franchise, and he's shining now. There's that too.
So he's invisible.
Had to drop that.
Because you know what?
Oh, you can still see him,
bro. I had 2 movies where I went to go see it, and I couldn't see the antagonist. It was frustrating as hell. Like, what the hell? Who's driving that car? Who's Idris Elba talking trash on? Because I can't see it.
You just spoiled the Suicide Squad for me. Thanks, Brian.
Sorry, I couldn't see the man.
Oh, jeez. Wrestling references.
There was, I swear to God, there was like a silver helmet in nothing.
If you know, you know.
If you know,
Period.
you know. All right, number 4, Russell Wilson.
Any other year, I'd say yes. This year, I can't do that. I don't know if it's because I don't expect Seattle to be what they were in the earlier part of Russell Wilson's career. Because before, Russell Wilson pretty much just had to be the glue that held everything together, as opposed to maybe being the driving force behind an entire team. That's a high thing to ask for Russell Wilson, so I got to say no.
Jackson?
I feel like this year's going to be like every other year, where maybe through weeks 4 to 5, he looks like he's the front runner. And then by week 7, he's kind of faltering a little bit down to second place. And then by week 11, he's completely fallen apart. And
You forgot he was even there to begin with.
Exactly. Because that's how it always goes. That's the Russell Wilson story.
You're right. That's the profile.
Russell Wilson's going to be out of Seattle within the next year or two. This is a guy who he's been unhappy with this team for so long. They're not doing anything to fix it. They're not getting him protection. They're not getting him a whole lot of weapons. And when he has weapons, they're gone. Like, as soon as they start to develop, he's gone if he's not gone this coming year, he's gone next year.
I think we came closer to that than people think.
I agree. And I think that they started telling him what he wanted to hear with no intention on making good. It's exactly what happened down in Houston. And I'll tell you the truth, in a lot of ways. The only difference is that Russell Wilson doesn't have a scandal in the way. And Russell Wilson was at least a huge – well, there's a big difference in a lot of ways. It's along the same lines.
I know what you're saying. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
But no, I think that Russell Wilson does all that he can for this team. But I think next year there's some this is yet another conversation where Russell Wilson's like, no, I'm done with you.
That's fair.
I think it'll definitely ramp up by weeks 12, 13, because that's such a tough division. And, we'll get to the next quarterback here, but the NFC West you can make an argument. It's probably the toughest and maybe the best division
really
in
is.
in the entire NFL.
Because
it's them in the AFC North for me. And for some odd reason, somehow, some way, those teams just keep reloading. And I think you're right. There's a lot to look at in the AFC West, the NFC West this year.
The dead last teams in those divisions are probably the top team in any other division.
Well, those last place teams usually give teams in the divisions and the team in their own division. They give each other a hard time.
Yeah,
so there's that too.
Because and that's what I sort of want to say to Cleveland Browns fans. I understand beating Pittsburgh in the playoffs is your version of the Super Bowl, but what happened to you the following week? Yeah, you kind of made a game of it, but guess what? You're not quite there yet. You've got a lot more work to do. And just because you dominate in that division, don't mean it. I mean, it doesn't mean that your division is sad.
And
it just means you've got a lot of work to do.
And Casey's backup closed them out. So
yeah, exactly. So here's the dark horse. Matthew Aloysius Stafford.
That's a good pick for a dark horse. That's a good dark horse pick. Because this is one of those things where as much as the Rams felt like something was missing these past couple years, they now have a running back in Cam Akers that I think can be somewhat reliable. And I know a lot of people had their reservations about Jared Goff. I was one of them. As much as I love what they try to do with that offense, putting Matthew Stafford in there now, it's like taking the training wheels off. There are no restrictions now. They can now do anything. They can beat you underneath. They can beat you in the running game. They can beat you off play action. And Stafford has him and Aaron Rodgers. I'm saying this now. Those two have the best pure arm talent in the league. And Josh Allen's not that far behind, only because Allen really hasn't come into that, that zone in his career yet where he's at his peak yet. But you want to talk about pure arm talent? Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford are probably the top two.
Now, the Cam Akers news, Trey is saying it crushed his soul. And
no, Trey's big on Cam. I think Cam he even has Cam in his fantasy league.
Yeah,
he drafted. I can't remember.
They had finally found their guy, and I was big on him coming out of college. Was big on him, and they had finally got the guy that probably complemented that offense the best. It does suck, but with everything else surrounding that offense, they still have a lot that they can do, and they have a lot of weapons. And that defense speaks for itself. But Matthew Stafford is a dark horse. I like that pick. I like that one. We'll
Jackson,
see.
where are you at?
I love it, dude. I love the Rams this year too, man. I really do. I'm super high on them, and they're kind of like the team as a whole. If Stafford's a dark horse for the MVP, they're a dark horse Super Bowl contender, and a lot of people don't even have them as dark horse Super Bowl contenders. They have them going up against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and I could see that. I think this team got a ton better. I was never really high on Goff. I think it's all anything really good we've seen from Goff. It's all been McVay. It's been smoke and mirrors in McVay's offense. It hasn't been Goff. And now you get a guy, like you said, has the best arm talent in the league, one of two best arm talent in the league.
He makes all the
throws.
Be flinging it.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget, and it's because he was in Detroit, that they were calling him a generational passer. Like, there were people touting him as the second coming of Peyton Manning. With more athleticism. You want to talk about a franchise where careers go to die.
I was just about to say that.
Barry Sanders, Megatron, Matt Stafford.
There you
Three
go.
guys right there.
There you go.
And I'm definitely on board with that.
And the Jared Goff saga probably ends.
Now, Jared Goff, I kind of feel bad for him going into that.
He got sent to Siberia. That's what happened to him.
Yeah. Like, the only thing, that's the equivalent of being sent to the Pirates if you're in the MLB.
Sent to the Orioles, really, because the Orioles are worse than the Pirates.
Yeah, that's
Orioles
true.
are terrible. And I don't see the Lions with this coaching change. I do not see this offense being as amenable to what Jared Goff was able to do with the Rockies at this point. That's true, because Colorado's terrible. They traded Nolan Arenado. But to
cocaine snorting Dan Campbell.
Oh God, yeah. Would you expect? I don't expect this offense to cater to what Jared Goff was familiar with as much as Sean McVay did. Jared Goff, by the way, another air raid guy. I mean, it was just a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it the Rams against the Chiefs, where they just lit up to each other that entire game because it was two air raid quarterbacks going nuts?
Yes.
Detroit's not going to do that the way the Rams will, or the way the Rams did, I should say.
Well, the problem is, I think with Detroit is it's an ownership that is just that they're insanity laced. They do the same things with every single coach, expecting something to change. And it's like, you guys haven't gotten it right in 40 plus years.
No, they had it. They were the closest to being right that they were. They had that guy. Mm-hmm. And then they got rid of him to bring in the guy who had never been a head coach before.
Yeah.
Jim Caldwell was actually a decent coach. He had Detroit on a respectable path.
Yes.
And then they pushed him out to bring their own guy in because their GM came in and wanted his own guy. And they pushed out a guy who was semi-respectable, Jim Caldwell, and things haven't been right ever since.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
Sorry,
Trey's
Trey. Jim Caldwell was in the games that got him in the playoffs. Jim Caldwell got Detroit in the playoffs. Hate him if you want to. He got Detroit in the playoffs.
And
Sorry.
And real quick before we go, because we're out of time.
Pretty sure he got Detroit in the playoffs.
I believe he did.
Yeah.
And then, of course, apparently MLB had an investigation going on to a report of a Colorado Rockies fan potentially shouting a racial slur. Apparently, it was found out that he was calling for the team's mascot for a picture. Now, if it was that, does it say more about the worry of racial hatred permeating worse into our sports? Because we've seen this happening in the NBA so often within the last few years with what Russell Westbrook was going through, what the Jazz were going through, the general manager of the Toronto Raptors going through, and what a lot of Major League Baseball players have been saying that have happened in Boston, in other areas. Josh, what do you think MLB needs to start doing? Sports as a whole, what do you think they need to start doing?
They need to start listening to the players. I don't know if you guys have seen what Marcus Stroman's been talking about this week. And honestly, if the reports out of Denver are true, and that is indeed what happened, I guess that's relieving, but it does not get rid of the general problem. Because
give us a quick rundown for those of us who haven't been following.
Marcus Stroman pretty much showed a couple of DMs that he's gotten in it on Instagram and I think on Twitter. Just different things that people have said to him, different messages that people have sent him for different stuff. This is something that's very much real. Now, granted, this last iteration at Denver probably jumped the gun, and I'd be willing to say that in hindsight. But it's not something that just was made up just because this one incident happened that was misconstrued.
Yeah.
It's been a thing for a while, and you have to start listening to players because there have been incidents that have happened. There are players that would tell you, especially players that played in the 80s and 90s, maybe even before that. They tell you, we didn't want to play in certain cities because we knew how fans acted. God rest his soul, Hank Aaron, as big as he was to the Braves in the city of Atlanta, he'd tell you straight up, in 1974, Atlanta was not very kind to him.
No.
Because he was breaking a record that was held previously by a white man that every baseball fan held in highest regard. And Hank Aaron broke that record. And the ugly side of humanity came out in that year in 1974. Hank Aaron would tell you that before anybody would. So I think MLB should listen to players because there are some very documented and high volume of situations where players have been treated ways they should not be treated in the 21st century. So Marcus Stroman being just one of the examples, listen to your players and see what they're telling you and then go from there.
Go ahead, Jackson. You had a point to make.
Oh, I mean, I was just, going to say specifically like with the Colorado thing, like, and obviously like what Josh said, yeah, players, leagues need to listen to their players, and it's across all sports where this happens. I'm a big
especially in hockey
guy. So there was there was a huge story that broke because of John Morant's mom and dad that were being heckled by some fans. But you also got to remember that it's not all fans either. It's an extreme minority of people because at that very same game, at that Utah Jazz game in the playoffs where they were, racially insensitive comments were being thrown at them, the people that they sat beside, they bought them both a beer and they were hanging out with them. And, it was an all white family and everything. So it's a small minority group of people, but again, it needs to be cracked down on. And specifically with the Colorado incident, if you listen to the audio and you don't know, you just hear the initial story that a racial slur was being yelled, and you listen to the audio of the guy that's talking back there, it does kind of sound like it. But
it's easy to put two and two together and get five.
It is. But when you watch the video, you see he's not looking at the player that's batting. He's looking away. He's waving his hand, and it's documented and confirmed by multiple people that whatever the mascot's name is.
Dinger.
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 Yeah, he was
And I
standing
can
somewhere
understand where you would misconstrue from a distance hearing that word from Dinger.
Yeah. And
I mean,
I was going to say the crowd was going to be loud, but it's a Rockies game, so the crowd's probably not too loud.
Well, there's thin air up there, so sound travels funny.
Not to mention the fact when you boil it all down, and I guess this isn't very reassuring, the fact that a guy immediately sitting behind home plate during the course of the baseball game is calling for the mascot as if it's between innings or before the game or after the. What are you doing that during the game right now? Like, why are you doing that right now? Of all times, you're literally sitting behind home plate and doing that behind home plate during the game. You couldn't wait till between innings. So, it's one of those things. It's like he may not be racist, but he might not be smart either, because that's not really good fan etiquette.
Right.
So it's one of those things. It's like, okay, it's really one thing more than another, but the other one still isn't a good look.
Yeah. But I will say, and it's right here in the chat, that the Rockies fan base is among the 5 most faithful fan bases in baseball.
So is St. Louis. Here's some of the stuff that they say.
Yeah.
Well, St. Louis is one of the most loyal fan bases too, and they might be one of the best ones that fit the example of the discussion we're having right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
Can't agree. It's Bryan now. He's the one that's frozen.
You're definitely not wrong. And the one thing that I will say, and answer me this, what do you guys think if maybe these fans that are caught heckling, I don't think banning them for life is enough. I think that they need to be brought up on harassment charges. And there needs to be some sort of real, like when it's racially motivated. Like, here's the thing. Sports, it's all about heckling the rival team. It happens. But when you start bringing race into it, that makes it no longer just heckling. And I think that there need to be some real consequences behind it. Like there needs to be some sort of charges brought up. And I'm not even saying make it criminal. Make it civil to the point where they pay a fine, and said fine goes to a charity of some sort.
I don't disagree. I think the hard part is it's hard to try to enforce that from place to place, because different cities and different municipalities have different laws. So they might have different penalties attached, and they might have different statutes attached. I think the general premise makes sense, but you'll probably run into red tape from place to place. Like Denver might handle it different than St. Louis might. St. Louis might handle it differently than Pittsburgh or New York or Atlanta or LA. So while in theory, I think it makes perfect sense, it might be harder for the individual jurisdictions themselves to maybe enforce it that way. But it makes sense in theory.
All right, Josh, tell everyone where they can reach you and when we can hear your takes on here at 93.7 The Fan, on where you're going to be coming up.
Sundays 9 a.m. I've been moved from the 7 a.m. slot to the 9 a.m. slot, so I'm not complaining. Sundays 9 a.m. 93.7 The Fan. Actually, not this week coming up. I'll be out of town. My wife and I are taking my son to visit my in-laws. He's actually going to be baptized at my in-laws' church, so we'll be gone for the weekend. But most Sundays 9 a.m. 93.7 The Fan. Also weekends on KDK TV. I anchor there, doing a lot of my TV work there. And for those of you who are not in the Pittsburgh market, you can watch it online, CBS Pittsburgh. So, or I should say CBSN Pittsburgh. Yep. So you can see me doing my TV thing there too. So, and also social media. Download the Odyssey app for as far as 93.7 The Fan goes. As far as social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Josh Taylor HD.
There you go. And of course, you can follow Jackson Law on Twitter, JLaw1995. Follow the show, Tanndemonium, at Tanndemonium VSM on Twitter. That is the only place you are going to find Tanndemonium takes, period. Check in with us on the Tanndemonium Twitter feed on Thursday, where I will be live tweeting the Steelers-Eagles game, the Battle of the Turnpike. And I'll also be live tweeting live from PNC Park this Saturday when the Pittsburgh Pirates lose to the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm playing.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not. You're going to get crushed. Maybe Brian Hayes will hit a dinger, though. All right, but with that being said, we're going to be back next week. Who are we going to have on the show? Lord knows, because I don't. But it's going to be an awesome time. We're going to be talking sports as a whole Oh my goodness. I know we didn't get to a lot of NFL training camp stuff. So Josh, real quick, because you'll know more, give us a take that maybe we haven't heard as of yet, or one of the more unsung things coming out of training camps.
One of the things I am hearing more and more, and the more I hear it, the just more it kind of makes me raise my eyebrows. We may see more of Dan Moore at left tackle. That's a possibility.
Ooh.
Keep an eye on the left tackle battle between Dan Moore and Chuks Okorafor.
Okay.
That's one thing I'm hearing. I can't really put a finger on it. And in fairness, I have not been at practice. We're having AJ Ross, who does a lot of sideline work for CBS. AJ Ross is a Pittsburgh girl, born and raised. She's back in her hometown covering training camp for us at CBS Pittsburgh. She's done an outstanding job. But keep an eye on that situation as at left tackle as far as Chuks Okorafor and Dan Moore. Also, do not panic about TJ Watt and his contract. They'll probably sign his contract by the end of training camp. He will be ready to play come week 1. Steelers fans, do not panic. It'll be fine.
I've actually been saying that they need to get him signed by the end of the week.
Honestly, there's no rush to, though, because are you really going to play TJ Watt in a lot of preseason games and risk him getting injured? If you're going to invest that kind of money in him, it makes no sense to do it, because now you're setting yourself up to just waste time and waste money. So there's that. We've seen this before with guys in training camp. Mike Tomlin pointed this out when Cam Hayward's contract was being renegotiated, or should say being extended a few years back. Cam did not go 100% in practice every day, and Cam handled it the same way TJ Watt did. He said, look, I'll focus on football, let my agent deal with the business stuff, and it got worked out. No big deal. So I won't worry about it.
What do you think of Trey proclaiming the Cleveland Browns the 2021 AFC North champs?
You got to get past Baltimore first before you can even think about getting through Pittsburgh. Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
Trey's a Baltimore fan, so
Yeah,
I'd say Baltimore is probably more likely than Cleveland is, honestly.
yeah.
Especially with that wide receiver they just drafted. I love that guy.
Trey despises Lamar Jackson.
Well,
Really?
see, here's one thing though, and I'll say this:
Wow.
Cleveland has had a stacked roster before, and they're still the Browns. So we'll see.
Wow. Trey called Baltimore a joke. Wow.
See, here's my thing, and I'm going to say, here's my dark horse for the AFC North. I don't think the Bengals are going to be in last place. No one's really talking about the Bengals. It's all Baltimore or Cleveland. Everyone's saying, oh, the Steelers this and blah, 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 blah. I see the Bengals potentially taking a major shift upward.
I don't disagree with you. Division contenders, no. But
No.
possibly out of the basement, that would be a significant improvement if that was the case. I'll give the Bengals credit. They look like they fixed their offensive line. They found some internal options. They've gotten a receiver in Jamar Chase that teams up well with Joe Burrow, and I love Joe Burrow. I'm hoping the internal options that they have on the offensive line work out, because they specifically avoided drafting a tackle with their top 5 pick, or I should say their top 10 pick, in order to take Jamar Chase. So if that works out for them, then more power to them. I hope it does for Joe Burrow's sake. But they feel like they've addressed that issue. I want to see them do more as far as bringing in more talent, because that's one of those rosters that almost needed a complete overhaul. So I won't say that they're even close to being done yet, but yeah, there's a lot of work to be done in Cincinnati. They should be markedly better than they've been in the past couple of years, though.
Absolutely.
Rashad Bateman was the name I was thinking about, rookie receiver from Baltimore. I'm a big Rashad Bateman guy. Big Rashad Bateman fan, which is terrible to say, being in Pittsburgh as a guy who talks about the Steelers for a living. Rashad Bateman's going to be a problem.
Well, he also suffered a soft tissue injury at practice, so he's being evaluated.
Hoping,
but there's no structural damage, so that's good for him in that regard.
I'm hoping for his sake that it's not a big deal. Maybe it might be good news for the Steelers in the long term. We'll see. But I was a big fan of Bateman coming out of Minnesota. I really like what kind of player he is. Trey saying he's overrated. Go watch his college tape, Trey. Kid's better than you think he is. Rashad Bateman's talented. And he was working with an offense in Minnesota that probably wasn't as high-powered, but that kid made plays time and time again against talent that was a lot better than his own team. I'll say that much in Minnesota.
I'm going to say
shout out to PJ Fleck.
All right, I'm going to say one last thing, and Josh, I want you to marinate on this until your appearance with us next month. because, and I know that you're going to be real busy. So if you're able to get in, it's going to be great because I know that's when the season starts. But I think that the Steelers are severely limiting their offense by not running an I formation and not making use of Derek Watt to give someone for Najee Harris to run behind.
Brian,
I
have you
can't
not
help it.
listened to what I've talked about when it comes to Matt Canada's offense? You're worrying about the wrong thing.
Fair enough. I just
Brian.
Call me an old school guy. Maybe it's the old running back in me.
Here's a homework assignment for you.
Okay.
Go back and watch pit tapes from 2016.
Okay.
You'll feel differently about the Steelers using the fullback in Matt Canada's offense. Remember, that offense, this is Pitt's offense we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Under Matt Canada, scored 40 points a game in 2016.
Okay.
They also scored 40 on Clemson in Death Valley and beat them.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it at that. And you can fill the rest of the holes, but just
Oh.
try. You will feel differently about how they deploy Derek Watt by the time you're done watching some of those tapes. That's all
Fair enough. I'll check it out. That's just, and I'll even admit this is the old school running back in me.
Yeah.
That love to run out of the power I. I love the power I. I love coming out of the I formation.
Trey, thank you. He got Nate Peterman draft. Trey, I've been telling Pittsburgh fans this for a year and a half now. Matt Canada got Nathan Peterman in the league. That's how good that offense was. Thank you. Thank you, Trey. Thank you.
Fair
Thank
enough.
you. Pittsburgh fans, I keep telling them that. They look at me like I'm insane. Matt Canada got Pitt. He turned Pitt into a 40-point per game offense and got Nathan Peterman in the freaking NFL. If that is not the mark of an offense that makes sense, I don't know what else to tell you. Thank you, Trey. Thank you.
Fair enough. Trey and Josh have been at odds since Josh came on, and they get to end the show on the same page. I love
Trey,
it.
you made my soul happy. Thank you for pointing that out.
I love it. We should be friends.
Trey made my week drop in that line. I've been saying this for months, man.
Dude, Trey is going to end up hiring you to do the Tanndemonium Sports Show and fire me. It's going to be the Taylormonium Sports Show. Trey loves him some Josh Taylor.
Man, Trey, you and I can have a talk for hours about what Matt Canada did with Pitt's offense 5 years ago. Here's the weirdest part of all. I am not a Pitt fan. Not a Pitt fan. Not a Pitt fan. Not a Penn State fan. Here's the two teams I root for of all things in the world. One of them is University of Arkansas because I covered them several years ago. And the other one is the one actual college football team in Pittsburgh that actually does win its conference and plays in its subdivisions playoff. That would be Duquesne University. So Penn State fans, hate me if you want to, but it's facts. But I'm not a Pitt guy. But here I am saying, hey, Matt Canada did this with Pitt. Go back and look at what he did. Just because I'm trying to tell people he has the credentials of making this offense somewhat competent.
Absolutely. Hey.
Take it for what it is.
Yep, and that is what it is. And that Pitt offense beat the Deshaun Watson-led Clemson Tigers. So,
which I called that day. Actually, believe it or not, short story. That was my first day on 93.7 The Fan.
Wow.
Very first day, very first show. I said, if Pitt does these three things, they'll beat Clemson. One, Matt Canada has to have a perfect game plan, and he did. Two, Nate Peterman needs to play mistake-free football, and he did. Three, the defense needs to have stops in critical situations. Salim Brightwell intercepts that pass in the red zone off Deshaun Watson and helped them win that game. I got so much props that afternoon. That night on Twitter, people were like, Josh Taylor called it. I was a hero that day. That was my first day on the air.
Yes, Josh Taylor is invited to the Brian Tan wedding in April of 2022. Yes,
I'm planning to be there.
Yep. Josh Taylor might end up being a groomsman if all things go the way it looks like they might be going. Josh Taylor might be a groomsman.
You know where to find me, bro.
Yeah,
you know where to find me.
All right, so I was getting told in the private chat that we got to dip out because another show needs the time. We've gone over, but
again.
Yeah, we always do because we always have good takes. So check out Josh Taylor HD all over social media. Download the Odyssey app and listen to him. 93.7 The Fan, 9 a.m. on Sundays. Go to,
CBSN Pittsburgh.
CBSN Pittsburgh online to check him out on KDKA. We will have Josh with us next month for more takes because we'll be going into the regular season at it. Football is back. Yes, praise the football gods. I'm Bryan Tan. He's Jackson Law. This is the Tanndemonium Sports Show, streaming live on twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. See you next week.